So starting with the first of our profession-based buildings for the Darkwood village, the cleric, or I suppose in this case, the rabbi. Now, as mentioned in earlier chapters, I'm changing things up for the village church and using different inspirations for the places of worship across the biomes. So far, I've been inspired by a church in the plains biome, a mosque in the desert, and for the Darkwood, I decided to refer to synagogue architecture. The synagogue is a Jewish place of worship, but can also double as a place to study and a community centre as well, so it's a perfect centrepiece for our forest village. Now, after researching into the architecture of a typical synagogue, I discovered that they're not limited to a particular style or shape. They vary in design quite a lot. However, the most notable features I found from reference images of real-life synagogues were large, circular windows sandwiched between two towers with bulb-like roofs. So I used this as a reference point and added my own twists. Which alternative place of worship would you most like to see in Minecraft? As for the interior of the synagogue, I discovered that the style and layout seemed to vary quite a bit. The only thing that did seem to persist were archways overlooking balconies either side, rows of pews, and a raised platform. You can access the second floor via the front towers, and with the design laid out, I mirrored it to the other side of the building. I realised how massive I ended up making this building once I attempted placing it down. I guess I was kind of compensating for the fact that the Dark Forest doesn't spawn its own villages in default Minecraft. Our second profession-based building is for the village cartographer. I settled on a peaked roof, fantasy style for this building, which will loosely persist throughout the remainder of this village. Obviously, because the cartographer lives here, I had to include a separate lookout tower that connects to the side of the building. I then tackled the next profession building, the weaponsmith. The plan for this building layout was to follow the same sort of design as the vanilla building, with the main forgery and large furnaces residing on a stone platform work area that's attached to the side of the building. You'll also notice I added a slight curvature to the rooftops of each building using slabs and trapdoors. That, in combination with diagonal building, is super time consuming. Honestly, I don't really know why I do this to myself. With the weaponsmith complete, I had to accompany it with an armourer. You can actually see the vanilla armourer building to the right, which of course I used as reference. And with the main profession buildings complete, I placed them at different levels across the village. As for filling up the remaining space, I used my trusty red wool to plot out a guideline for the remaining village houses. From that, I started building up individual village houses on loads of different angles. I really limited my use of world edit here and had to create these houses by hand, but it avoids repetition and creates a way more immersive environment for you guys to explore, especially with all of the interiors. Now, to add even more variation to the village and to enhance that fantasy theme, I included some Hobbit-inspired houses embedded in the different layers of the terrain. I built the original Hobbit house normally and had to include a few diagonal variants along the final top layer of the village. Even though I didn't plan to include the farmer profession in this biome, I thought it would fit nicely in one of these flat spaces I created up on the hillside. Plus, I couldn't leave these villagers going hungry. And to bring our little custom village to life, I redesigned a few small decorations, including a cart, a small flower bed, a lantern, a bell, and a well to scatter around the village. But it was still missing a little magic.